I'll start the meeting off. This is the Board of Selectmen special meeting of April 7th, 2021. We're doing it by Zoom, starts at 7 p.m. And I will say the Pledge of Allegiance, and you can all hum along if you wish. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight in our series of having groups come before us to start talking about the plans for the American Rescue Funds, which are coming our way and have yet to be defined by the U.S. Treasury. We don't expect to see those definitions much before the middle of May on how we can spend them and the parameters and rules and boundaries in which we must live within. So we are on a fact-finding mission as a Board of Selectmen. We know it will be a significant amount. We know a significant amount of our citizens and our businesses are hurting. So we want to start the momentum early by checking in with certain groups. First on our agenda is East Lyme, Town of East Lyme Youth Services Commission and friends. Dave Putnam is here. Hi, Dave. Dave, I know you're running out to another meeting in like 15 minutes.
Well,
so
I'm running from this computer screen to that Zoom computer screen. So I'm Zooming. Can you hear me okay?
I tried to be in two meetings at the same time yesterday. Because I have 2 ears, I thought that would work out. It didn't. It's very difficult. But when you need to go, I'll watch you just go. Okay. But you can start us off. What is we're talking about mental health support in our community.
Right, and it's a topic that we've been discussing for a number of years, and with the East Lyme Youth Coalition, with East Lyme Youth Services, and with the schools. We've been looking for a number of years to upgrade the services that we provide as a youth services bureau, and either that through the coalition or in help with the coalition, or in conjunction or partnership with the coalition, with conjunction and partnership of community organizations and stuff. We've tried to do this over the last few years. We put in a position in our budget that a couple of years ago was cut out, and I think it's a need that we sorely need, and this is a perfect time to be able to do this. And so we have a short presentation for you with some PowerPoint slides, and if you could let Dave Fasulo share the screen, we have a few things that we'd like to kind of just get on the topic for discussion and stuff. So
I believe it's open for anyone to share. Tell me otherwise. Only one can do it at a time. So Dave might, by all means, if you know how to work it, do it.
Okay, hopefully this is being shared.
Not yet.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
Yes, you have started screen sharing. Okay. Congratulations.
Right. So the coalition has been meeting for a while. It's the East Lyme Youth Coalition, and part of that coalition, you'll see the members that are here that are listed under here as part of the coalition, as part of the Youth Services Bureau. So it's myself, it's Jeff Newton, the superintendent of schools, is on that. Ann Daigle from the Daigle Foundation, Dave Fasulo, who's the assistant superintendent, and Chris Mountain, who's the psychologist at the high school. And so when monies came available, or potentially became available through the American Cares Restoration, or whatever that act is called, we started discussions on, that this is a perfect time to address the mental health issues of our community. So Dave, if you could go to the next slide. So we just put together some things and some thoughts. We don't know what this is going to look like coming out of this pandemic, but I know in talking to the high school people and the referrals that we've been getting, that kids are struggling and families are struggling with mental health issues and dealing with this pandemic. And so we need to figure out a way to support this, not only through the schools, but also in the community. And we've done some really good things, I think, for the youth, as far as Youth Coalition is concerned. However, we only have scratched the surface. And I think there's so much more that we can do and provide to our community that is needed. And this, again, with this money's coming available, this is the perfect opportunity. I think it's the perfect way to supplement what we do as youth services, what the school does, and provide some mental health and some wellness and some prevention type of people, and really have people that are really focused into that. If you remember, it was 10 years ago now that we've merged, where Park and Rec and Youth Services merged. And the reason we did that, and there were some things going on with Youth Services at the time, and I think we really have done a good job of stabilizing over the past 10 years of a good relationship and a good partnership and a good melding with a whole bunch of different groups. And so coming to that, what are we looking at? So I think one of the things that I would really like to see is a prevention wellness coordinator, or somebody that really takes off. We're really good, and I'm going to brag a little bit, Park and Rec, and we're really good on programming and recreation and that kind of thing. What we're not professionals in is the prevention side of it, is the wellness side of it, and also the counseling part of it. And so we're going to get into that a little bit more today and a little deeper into that. So, you know, we need to get more robust. We need to provide our youth with more positive outlets, more education, more counseling, more just support them in a greater need than we are presently. So Dave, if you could go to the, and I'm not going to read slide by slide, but hopefully you guys can read that as it comes up on the slide. There's nothing more, I don't like being read to either, so hopefully we can touch base on this. So one of the things that we came up with is, and really this is where I would like to see it, run it through the coalition and the Youth Services Bureau, and I think Linda Fecto's on here, and Linda's our chair of the Youth Services Bureau. But one thing we looked at is a wellness prevention and mentoring coordinator. And the things that we looked at here is as far as wellness, I'm not going to get into that, but you know, promote mental health, you know, do parent forums and topics. We've done some really good things. We've brought in Chris Herron in the past, who is a professional basketball player that had substance abuse, John Morello, who does an I Am Dirt program, and those kinds of things are really good. But we do one of those a year. You know, we need to start doing those one a month, right? And we need to really hit hard with the prevention part of it. And they would chair the East Lyme Youth Coalition, this position, grant funding, attend some local, you know, some local trainings and stuff. So we've really started, but we need to get to that next level. And the other thing that we really started that was really nice was a mentoring program. Jen Brush and I can't remember her name at Nyack Center School right now, but they did a really good job of setting up the Viking mentoring program. And we started 3 years ago. We had about 16 to 20 mentors. It was going really well. And then, you know, COVID hit, right? And we couldn't get into the schools anymore. We kind of lost touch with that. Some of us have. I'm a mentor. I keep in touch with my mentee on a weekly basis through FaceTime. But some of those relationships were lost, and we need to get that back, especially coming out, I believe, of this pandemic, and really provide kids with mentors, kids that can go in and they can talk to, that's not a teacher, that's not a parent, someone that can be in there and be in their cheerleader for that. So that's one position that we're looking at that I think would be really important. And then if you go to the next slide, I think we're talking about therapists and a counselor and what that would look like. And I think if Chris is with us, maybe he could talk us a little bit through this, Chris Mountain, a little bit through this as well. But sure, it's something that, you know, we have counseling at the school. We have no counseling outside of school as far as the community is concerned, or as far as youth services is concerned. So I'm going to turn that over to Chris to talk about this a little bit and kind of what that might look like.
Thank you. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. And I'm Chris Mountain. I'm a school psychologist at East Lyme High School. I've been at the high school for 25 plus years as a school psychologist. I've coached high school sports for a long time there, worked with youth programs. My wife also works in town. She's a physical therapist for years at Bridebrook, and we've raised our 2 kids in this community as well. And I'm really proud to be a member of the board of directors for the Daigle Foundation as well now too. So I'm certainly invested in the mental health support of the kids and adults in this community. So I was really happy to be asked to be part of this tonight. So with that being said, I'm just going to speak briefly about this, which is not always my forte. So I'm going to work to the best of my ability to do that. So like Dave said, I'm not going to read off this, but just really a clinical therapist, counselor would be really beneficial. What Dave was talking about is a wellness coordinator, director is great. That's very proactive. Unfortunately, at times we have to be a little reactive. We're going to have kids who are struggling with anxiety, depression, just the isolation. I'm really concerned about kids, particularly right now with what's going on in the world. So in order to do that, having a licensed individual at youth services to provide that would be wonderful. This is just a general description. It's flexible, but really someone who is licensed. So that would be someone such as a licensed clinical social worker, a licensed marriage and family therapist, a licensed practicing counselor, someone at least a master's level degree and licensed, and looking for someone who has, say, 2 to 3 years of experience at least. And I can say I've been working long enough in the community where I was working as a school psychologist at the high school while there was a social worker at youth services, and there was a director there, and it was incredibly helpful. It was wonderful to be able to have referrals right to someone in our community. So I would strongly encourage you I think these two positions go hand in hand. One without the other, it doesn't work. You need to do it to have a real comprehensive support. And I think that I'm going to pass the baton on to Dave Fazzulo to talk a little bit about some of the things that go on in the school.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. My name is David Fasulo. I'm an assistant principal at East Lyme High School. And just giving a little snapshot of some of the services that are going on in our school systems. And then in the high school, this is a 7:30 to 2:15 piece. And so we have our universal supports with our counseling staff, advisory lessons. We're making a greater effort on our social and emotional learning piece. We have staff trained in mental health interventions, and our middle school elementaries use the positive behavioral support programs. But then we have more specialized supports that come into a part of our day almost daily. So we have our school psychologists. However, their job really is to work with a lot of our students with special education programs. So they're spending a lot of their time doing assessment work, working with the PPT process, pre-referral process, and the counseling piece. But then we work into more complex situations at the school. So we have our school social workers as well. We have our crisis intervention teams that come together, typically an administrator, one of the counselors or school social workers or school psychologists. We have our therapeutic crisis intervention training and certification programs. It's really de-escalating difficult situations. We have therapeutic specialty programs at just about each level. We have our drug and alcohol counselor who's doing a phenomenal job. That person is contracted through Project Courage. And then I feel like the start of the conversation many times for us is we'll utilize 211, the mobile crisis intervention. We'll have DCF referrals that we need to make off and on 911 calls. So we work with outside therapists and partial hospitalization programs. So that's just a snippet of some of the work that we do in terms of mental health for some of our students in our buildings. And again, I feel like, in my mind, I've done a lot of these with Chris, some of our, crisis intervention teams, and it's the start of the conversation. It's something that's brought up in the school environment. It's a home piece. It's something. And I think with continued support, that would really greatly benefit the East Lyme community.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, so I'm just going to give a thumbnail sketch on the support staff, the different roles in the school, and the purpose of doing that is to give really an understanding of some similarities and differences of these roles and how the addition of a clinician at youth services would help just kind of complete the picture. So I know Dave touched on this a little bit, so I'm not going to belabor it, but we have school counselors, at the high school, the middle school, we have school psychologists throughout the district, and we have school social workers throughout the district, and we have a substance abuse counselor at the high school. And in no way, shape, or form do I want to make it sound like we could use some more support too, but that's another conversation for another day. So, but in terms of our supports, this is what we have. And really across the board, everyone is involved in doing some individual work and some small group work. Crisis intervention, Dave had mentioned, in general, like it's really, we drop everything, all hands on deck if we're concerned about a health and safety issue with a student. And typically we have 2 staff members. It may be a school counselor and a school psychologist, or a social worker and a school psychologist or a school counselor work together. So no one's kind of left alone working with that, and then involving administrators and possibly 2-on-1 or other avenues. In terms of social emotional support, everyone's working with that as well. But the school counselors, you have to remember, there's still this other piece going on for them, and it's academics, and they're involved in scheduling for kids. If there's a challenge in class, they're supporting kids within their program, helping create schedules. In terms of post-secondary planning, either the military or into college or the workforce, developmental curriculum, working with each grade level to age appropriate things like learning styles and things of that nature, learning about that. School psychologists, we're working on a lot of consultation regarding mental health, disabilities, behavioral and educational concerns, either with parents, teachers, a lot of times with administrators if we have some challenging issues going on. We do counseling, individual group, but we're doing a lot with special education students. That's our focus. Assessment, so a lot of psychoeducational testing to determine if there's, attentional concerns or academic concerns or behavioral, social, emotional, and helping to create and oversee special ed programs. The school social worker is doing a bit more direct service, direct support with students who are regular education students, as well as some special ed and 504 students, working with outside agencies as well, and doing some case management. And then our substance abuse counselor is working with students who are dealing with some addiction issues, or they may have a family member who has addiction issues and they're supporting them. So the position at youth services would be primarily direct services. So that would be working with students and counseling with students, similar to other outside supports. So the hours would be different from that of the school, afternoon, evenings, possibly weekends. They would provide counseling in the summer, and they would work collaboratively with the schools to support, and they'd also provide families with a financially feasible option locally. So all really positive things, I think, for our community.
Chris, this is Jeff Newton. If I could just capitalize on that and the fact that the assistance that is needed in on those weekends and those afternoons during the summer, and Chris, as you mentioned, we don't have enough support, in the schools. We have over 425 students who are identified under special education who require a lot of services across our 6 buildings. We are looking for, to ramp up some additional support next year, and COVID has impacted that. But on the town side, there is definitely a great need as it pertains to, the afternoons when we can't see kids, the weekends, as well as, that summer time frame.
Okay, I'm not sure if we can pull Dave Putnam back into the conversation if possible. I know we have kind of a final slide that's more pertaining.
Do you want Ann and I to do this, Dave, or do you want to
Actually,
review
yeah.
this one?
I'm ready to talk about it, and then
Go
Jeff
ahead,
can
Ann.
pipe in. Okay. So before I close, I just want to thank Mark a lot for supporting us and understanding the greater need in our community for our youth and our families and everyone in East Lyme for support with all that we've just talked about. The need for our more robust youth services is well past due. For years, members of the coalition, the Youth Coalition, have been discussing how we can best serve our community. But we also we felt we were doing the best we could with what we had, but we all knew that something was missing. So the need to fill this emptiness, this opportunity arise. So we're looking forward to hopefully be able to fill that. So this slide that we're looking at right now is the comparisons of the other towns. So it clearly demonstrates what we're missing here. Surrounding towns of Montville, Waterford, Old Lyme, and Colchester all have full-time directors. We have none. Most have 2 full-time program coordinators. All of them have counseling services, which Chris referred to a lot, and Jeff did too. That is really important to help the kids beyond the school day. And we know that we don't have any. We at the Brian Daigle Foundation have worked with all of these 4 communities. And for years, I've seen the difference in the schools and with the teachers and with the staffing there. It makes a huge difference in how they can help their students, and not only that, but beyond into the community. So each one in their own way do far more work beyond the classrooms. They have mental health resources to help train the parents, to support their children, and that results in support for both the parents and the children, as we said, year-round, not just when school is in session. So I don't think I have to explain to you that now more than ever, we really need mental health resources. A coordinator, a program wellness coordinator, would be a great resource for our extended community in the town of East Lyme. And it goes beyond all the youth, all ages, all families. So we know when the families are supported, the children do well as well. So it completes the circle. So East Lyme Youth Service Bureau, with the appropriate staffing, would improve all the connections that we need. And we know that the other towns are doing much better than we do right now with that. And we at the Brian Daigle Foundation, we would be able to help them and work with them with our mental health resources and supports that we have here. So I hope you would think about this. And we hope that this is only the beginning of this conversation, because it's a really important conversation that we have to continue to improve the quality within our town of East Lyme. And all of us here on this call know how much that we really love and support our community. So just ending, we really want to thank you, and I'll let Jeff pop in for some more comments, but thank you for listening to us. We're open for questions, comments, anything you have to say, and I'll let Jeff kind of close it all out.
And thanks, Ann. I think you did a great job, and well said. We are a quality town with such great services, for across our community. This is something we're lacking in. And this is something that I think we need. And, the opportunity that, the surrounding towns, as you see, in those boxes around us, they have services, they have connections. If we could get these positions in place, we can connect with them. And I think we could quickly bring robust programs, connections, do activities together, services together. There's a lot that could be done with a connection with all the surrounding towns, especially, Waterford and Old Lyme, are on either side of us. So we appreciate your support. First Selectman, Mr. Nickerson, it's been a pleasure working with you and your support through all of this. And we'll, as Ann said, we'll open up for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Newton. And thank you all for your presentation and to the Board of Selectmen for your attention to this. I think we've all agreed that mental health support is going to be necessary coming out of this, and with these source funds coming, that's one big piece of the pie that we need to make sure we cover. As you can see, we don't, as a town, we rely on the school services to support the children. But I think we need to remember that, mental health doesn't stop at 18 years old. And there's people in our community, not just youth, that will be served well by having this social safety net, this mental health safety net in our town. This would be I want to make sure we're clear on this. These are not added positions indefinitely. These would be paid for with the American Rescue Fund, and we'd be contracting with people for a period of 3 or 4 years. All funds need to be expended by December 31st, 2024. So we could arrange for support as needed through that time period. We're not suggesting to grow government. We're suggesting to use the federal funds being given to us as best use as possible. I am passionate about this. I think this is something we must do. I don't know of another way to deliver services. I mean, we are delivering great services through Chris Mountain and his team over at the school, and I kudos to you guys. And the town has leaned on you forever, but you can't be there 24/7. You can't be there in the summers, the weekends, after school, at night. And there are crises do happen. We need support there, and the police need support. The police it would be an advantage for the police to have a phone number of somebody in town to be able to lean on during those tough times. I'll open it up for questions from the Board of Selectmen. Are there any?
So I do have a question.
Yes.
So Mark, you mentioned beyond school. So is this position for youth services only, or is this going to be town-wide for any age?
Is there someone that can answer that? My belief is that it supports family as well. And while we put it under youth services, for lack of a better place to put it, because that's where other towns traditionally put this, I would think that those services would be available to all. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave,
I'm sorry,
back.
it's Dave. I'm back here. So yes, absolutely.
Good question.
So this chart's great that you have on slide 7. You're looking for one position or a couple positions, and how does that fill? I'd love to see how that fills in that bottom block.
Right. So
Right.
It's Dave again. I can discuss that a little bit. Everything we have right now as far as staff is a shared position. My thing is, if we go 2 positions, it would be a prevention coordinator, and that would be their role, and then a counselor as well under that, added to that into that box. Remember, these are all, so Montville, Waterford, Old Lyme, Colchester, they're direct youth service agencies. They are not shared with Park and Rec at all, and that's kind of why we're unique in that.
Okay, so the director still would be shared with Park and Rec, but you'd be filling in. You said prevention,
Right.
counseling.
Right.
Counseling would be these seem like what you guys described to me is these are off hours, outside school hour position with some tie into the school.
The counseling, yeah.
Right.
Right, correct.
Just the counseling piece.
Yes, correct. Just the counseling. The prevention coordinator would be similar to like one of our program coordinators for Park and Rec, where their hours are 37 and a half, but it could be divided up in a different number of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I heard a little bit about, there's some programs that happen at the high school. We did have guest speakers. I think Jeff mentioned you'd like to do that more on a monthly basis. Is that what I heard? I think those programs are excellent. Is that preventative coordinator going to be scheduling that? Is that the plan with the schools?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if somebody has an issue at school, they could be referred to youth services. Have you guys ever, since we are tied in with Salem, has there been any discussion or any representation from Salem by any chance? If we have a Salem student, for example, that's in
Trying to
school
get
that
back on here.
Mark, just say that one more time as it pertains to Salem.
So we do have Salem in our high school. I see
Yep.
this as a tie-in to our school and our youth services. Has Salem,
I'm lost here.
are they have any interest in partnering on this? If it does tie directly in with students?
Yeah, that's a good question, Mark. We didn't discuss reaching out or branching with Salem, but as we move forward, that might be a good discussion topic to have.
Okay, because I'd hate to have like, oh, we got a perfect student, this is great, but he's from Salem.
Well, and I think, because Salem students, there are students, and we treat them at the high school level like, they're one of our own.
Right.
We would never want to turn a student or a family away. So I think that's an important connection. So we definitely need to look at that and more to think about it. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Jeff. In terms of working with kids at the high school, that's a great question, because I wouldn't even thought about it, because we work with the kids and we don't sometimes even know, unless it arises that we're talking about, okay, well, where do you live? And so for right now, when we deal with kids, crisis interventions, those type of things, we don't have we don't have youth services in town to refer to. So we get parents calling us all the time at school asking us for, could you mention, do you know someone, an outside counselor we can use, those type of things. So, but it would be great to be able to tie Salem in with this.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The home base, where would this person, these people be home based? Would they be home based down at the community center, or would they be more of a on site? You can go anywhere, meet with kids anywhere, meet with. How would that work?
And Dave, if you want to, I'm not sure if he's available or not. I can't see everybody's face, but this is Jeff again. Over at the youth center, it would be based out of the youth center. Yeah, but coordinating obviously with with the school staff as necessary.
Yes, so that would be, we would find room there at the youth center for that.
There was a period of time where Salem was a partner in our youth services, and that is a discussion that we could bring back to Salem. They paid us fees. Their youth services, because obviously their students were in town. They weren't utilizing it, but it is, Mark, you brought up a great point. So we'll carry forth on that and see if they want to participate. Beyond the school hours. Our school obviously takes care of Salem students. That's part of their tuition. But beyond that, let's see if we can partner with them. It would be a great regional example.
Even if they had office hours up in Salem, for a few hours a week,
Sure.
I could totally see that happening. Including, they may have needs too that we could share resources with their middle school and elementary school. So, my only last question is, as we move forward, we're obviously, thank you for presenting. We're taking it in. We'll need to know what kind of expenses and costs are being requested at some point. We don't need that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, Dan Cunningham.
Yeah.
Just I think the need is real and it's apparent to me. This would be a great thing if it's one of the things that we can do with that money. As you had mentioned earlier, Mark, that we can't grow government with this program, and we can't create something that's going to be a recurring cost in the future to the taxpayer. So if we do create this resource, I think it's going to be sorely missed once the contract ends. I would like to see some commitment. I'm not sure how it would work, but maybe we start looking for grants during the, if we can fund this for 3 or 4 years with this money, really start looking for grants and ways to sustain it even further into the future. I think that would be very important, because I think we're going to really find that this resource is necessary, and we're going to appreciate it. I want to see if there's a way within the bounds of the rules for this money that we can keep it going even further into the future.
Are there any other questions?
This is Paul Daigle. I'll just second what Dan said. This is, it's a significant need that's long overdue, and I think it's incumbent upon the town to be looking at ways to almost use this as a pilot that's being funded by the federal government. We'll be able to measure the results of it, and then whoever's sitting in these seats going forward and on the Board of Finance, this is something that is an opportunity for us to see what the return on this investment is in our town and to our citizens, and then go forward and make it a permanent service that we can provide.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, listen, are there any other questions? If not, what we're going to want is details. As we get closer, we don't expect to see funding until June. We can't make much of a commitment before we get at least the parameters, which will be mid-May. I wanted you to plant a seed among the Board of Selectmen. I'm hearing lots of positive things. That's a good thing. But we need to see how it works. And my idea, Dave's idea, the school's idea of dovetailing their programming that's already going on, it's so very successful. And what we also need as a town on the outside, and putting them all together it made a lot of sense to me. And I hope that the reality is it works. So let's continue the conversation as we get closer. And please continue to do the work on what would work. And speaking to groups like the other towns have, speak to the other towns, what's working, what isn't. I know the need is going to be there. I know it's already there, and I know it's going to grow. So I applaud the people who came and have done the work so far. Much, much appreciated. Thank you. Next on our agenda, and don't be bashful to leave and go back to your families, folks. Thank you for coming in tonight. The next on our agenda is the very patient Niantic Main Street, who will be presenting as well. I know I saw do I see you? Yes, this is my good friend Dan, and that other person, I forget her name. Oh yeah, Sue Kumro. Part of this very specific, the American Rescue Plan, was to support businesses. That's another big piece of pie, is help people. I think we'll do that with food, social services, and mental health, and help the businesses survive, grow, and take this opportunity, this funding to do what we need to do to set up for the next 20 years. So Dan Walsh is he's still the president of Niantic Main Street?
I am.
All right, and Sue Kumro is its heart, its soul, its energy. So why don't you lead us through some conversation?
All right, well, thank you, first of all, for having us. Appreciate the time. Sue and I had the opportunity to meet with our team on Monday night, and we kind of discussed a little bit about how you may feel and what your thoughts are. And so I've tried to, I don't have a fancy presentation, not a lot of PowerPoint here, no smoke, no lasers, but I would like to kind of address some of the concerns you might have, which would probably be who are we? So that's number one. We'll get into that a little bit. What have we done to be so fortunate as to be on this call? And what we think maybe we can accomplish if we're funded to do some of the things we've done in the past and expand that. So who are we? So we're a nonprofit. We're a 501(c)(3), 100% volunteer group, been around since 2001. Sometimes we get confused with beautification, which we're not. Do we do beautification?
Yes.
We do. We do the planters downtown. Sometimes we get confused with ELBO, the East Lyme Business Organization. We're not. But do we work with businesses?
Yes.
We most certainly do. So we are a lot of things. We've done a lot of things. And I'd like to share some of those accomplishments. And keep in mind, we're a group of about eight active volunteers. We're not a huge group, but we make a big punch because we have the passion and we have a good group together. So what have we done in the past? One of the landmark accomplishments of this organization was our STEEP grant, which many of you are probably familiar with, the Small Town Economic Improvement Program, which led to the pavers and my back is to Main Street now, the pavers, the street lights, the trees, the curbing, which have really obviously turned our town around some time back, and we've built on that through other things. We brought on a marketing coordinator, which was one of the things that the charrette report, which I'm showing here, it's if you haven't had a chance to read this, it's a great document, but it's also a little bit old. It was written in 1997, and as it turns out, who was it? Joyce? No, Michelle.
Michelle.
Yeah.
Michelle Royce Williams did a study, a 10-year with POCD, I think it's called, right, Mark?
Yeah, yeah.
And she actually acknowledged the work that Niantic Main Street. She said it's unbelievable in the 10 years what you people have accomplished. I'm amazed.
Yeah. So it's been productive, and we've used this charrette study to kind of guide us in a lot of ways. And some things we've done intentionally, and some, quite frankly, quite unintentionally, but it made sense. And just continuing with some of these efforts, we've done, as the charrette study spoke to, the uniqueness of Niantic is its seaside village and ambiance. And many of the events that we host, I don't know, we're coming off of Restaurant Week, which was an investment of $5,000 for Niantic Main Street, and I think had resounding success in terms of getting people back out for at least takeout. And I think our restaurants have been hit probably the most hard in terms of COVID. We have a vintage market, our next one coming up May 15th, mark your calendar. We do the holiday stroll, and Mark comes down and lights the Christmas tree, which is a fan favorite. We do Bargains by the Bay, Farmers Market, Boardwalk 5K, and this year, due to the COVID epidemic, we did a Feeding Our Friends, where we bought meals to locals, including the AHIPA nursing home up the street. So we've done quite a bit. We're proud of our accomplishments, and we think we're a group that can use funds efficiently and wisely and really make a difference. And our group, as I mentioned, Sue and I discussed with the team, what might be a logical starting point. And because this charrette study that I showed you has been such a compass for us, we thought it might make sense to revisit this. It's been since 1997. In speaking with Candy Shapiro, the founder of this organization, she said back in the day it was funded through a different mechanism, and I don't know if we can pursue that or not, but it certainly would be a great starting point for planning our future 20 years. So that was sort of 1A as far as ideas. And by the way, I forgot to say, I really would like this to be a discussion. I don't know if we have time for that now. Maybe this is more just us throwing ideas out, but let's discuss this either now or as time goes by. But we have ideas, but certainly we're not perfect. We certainly are not married to these concepts. But one would be the charrette study. Two would be a Veterans Park facelift. Yeah.
Yeah.
And three would be bringing art to the town, and not art that's not in line with our seaside village ambiance, but art that people can continue to see Niantic as a destination for even more things than just being a seaside village with recreational capabilities and a few good restaurants. So those are three areas where we thought might make sense. But again, we are definitely open to ideas and ready to continue to work hard.
Dan, your organization represents businesses on Main Street, but elsewhere as well. Let's be clear on that.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, our mission statement is to help Niantic become a better place to work, live, and play, and that doesn't restrict us to Main Street. In fact, during the restaurant week we just had, there were several restaurants in Flanders, El Pomodoro.
Right. But you have to remember, Main Street is part of a national Main Street. If you ever look into the resources, we're under Connecticut Main Street, but there's a national Main Street. So the criteria is Main Street, but we include everyone in town. It's just that our main focus is on Main Street.
That's
But it
important.
is a national movement.
It's important to know because, of course, we want the health, vitality, and growth of all businesses in town, of course. And I know if we work with you as our arm to support businesses, that would be very important that you are able to carry that through our town. You said something, Dan, and I wrote it down, efficiently and wisely, that you're a group of business people that can make decisions about what would benefit businesses. And that's why I asked you to join us, that rather than government, we have very talented people on the Board of Selectmen, but rather than having government dictate how we're going to support you, I thought that the business community being represented by these volunteers, and I'm sure you'd bring others in if you have big projects, would be best put to use. Again, businesses helping businesses, and us being able to help you fund that. That was my thought of bringing you in. I'm sure the town will also be able to get involved with bigger things. The flagpole, for instance, you mentioned Vets Park. It's funny, just 2 days ago, someone came into my office and said, we have to replace that flagpole. It's an old, whatever it is, it's wood, and it's been up there for a long time. Roseanne probably remembers when it was installed. Just kidding. But it's already rotted at the top. We've cut a couple dozen feet off of it as it fell over a couple of years ago and it rotted and came down. So it is it needs to be redone, and that's maybe something the town can do. But we can work in partnership with the Niantic Main Street group in hoping that we support our businesses. So probably
One other thing, yeah. One other important thing that I think people don't know, we raise a lot of money on our own through different events. But the new park, we were very involved in the new park. We sold the bricks there and gave back the town, I think, $40,000. All the planters on Main Street is paid through Niantic Main Street. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes on with Niantic Main Street. And a lot of us are not business owners. Dan doesn't own a business. Well, he will soon. But we're people that really care about the town. So I think we've done so many things over the last year. It's amazing if you really saw all the stuff we do. Volunteer.
Yeah, and I want to get back to the comment about Flanders, because I think that really is important, that we treat this as one town, not just two villages. And part of the Charette study, to keep in mind, was a market analysis which addressed not only the downtown area, but Flanders. And that's an important and valuable part of that study. And it may say that we need to have a trolley that goes from Flanders to Main Street, or some sort biking trails that connect. We only know what we know, so that's why we're excited about diving into that and revisiting, how experts from Yale, in this case, architects, can guide us moving forward. It's overdue. I think that's step 1A. But just to reiterate, we would definitely include our partners to the north.
Exactly. And maybe get some representation as part of your group. And we'll talk about that. And I can meet with your group, and maybe a couple of the selectmen can meet with your group, and then we'll make a list, and a need list, a want list, and an idea list on how we can support. But just the idea is to put more people on the sidewalk downtown, and more reasons to go downtown. I love your idea about art. There's opportunities down there for wall art and for sculpture in the park, etc. And that brings people, and that just makes it more welcoming. So we'll discuss, and I think
Can I torture you with an old video?
What's that?
Can I torture you with an old video?
You said you didn't have any bells, whistles, or...
No, that's not true. I have one bell and whistle.
This
So
is something else we did.
yeah, this goes back before your time, Mark. But let me.
No, I don't know, Mark. You were around.
No,
I think.
he was around, but he wasn't the first selectman. Can you guys see it?
Seems like forever. Yeah.
This is something we put together back in 2007.
I don't know if you
Speaking
get
of art, this is our art director at work.
Unfortunately, I don't think you get sound. And I was in a band with Kelly, so I know Kelly very well. Was this the Taylor Swift?
Can you guys hear it?
No.
No?
We-
You
I
can't hear it, Mark?
hear it. If anyone else can hear it, that'd be great, but I cannot hear it. No.
Oh,
And that's-
all right. Well, if you can't hear it, it's not even worth it.
It's
We're the
on
fan
YouTube.
favorite town.
It's on YouTube. It was a great. What's the name of the song? You should.
I think it's Niantic. It's the town for you.
And
Yeah.
remember, we were the #1 town in Connecticut
It was,
that year?
Yeah. So, yeah, that may have been the beginning of my time. And Paul had another nod before he left that we were #1 something else, and #1 in the state. Yeah, that's right. So it's a great video. It's on YouTube. I catch it every once in a while. It pops up on my favorites, and
All right, and get the volume going.
so I encourage people to go look. We will work together with you, okay? And we'll figure out a way. Again, you planted a seed tonight. Let me open it up for questions from the Board of Selectmen. Are there any questions at this point, at this early stage? Any comments?
Mark, Kevin,
Kevin.
Sue, you and I had talked. I think we said another thing is another charrette study. I think that would give us a good launching point. I think that would be a priority too, because obviously that one worked really well to revitalize Main Street. So it'd be really nice to see something like that again. That's my only comment.
If you could maybe in your spare time, because I know you all have so much spare time, if you could kind of jot down if you go through the charrette and jot down all the things that we successfully completed, I think it would be helpful in selling the need for a new charrette, because it was followed, a blueprint was followed, and we built a masterpiece. We built a renaissance of Niantic over the last 20-something years. And it's, what will the next 20 look like?
Right.
So,
Yeah, one of the very first things it says is find a group of energetic volunteers to captain all these things. And so that was done. And then, anyway, I struggle to find it now, but there's a bunch of stuff that we did,
Sure.
large and small that, like I said, kind of aligned.
Sure. It'd be interesting to get a professional involved talking about, okay, this is what you have, these are your assets. This is what will bring more people, including residents, to the shore. I dare say people in Flanders did not go to Niantic 25 years ago. There's nothing to do. Well, maybe once a month to the movie theater. There were very few restaurants. There was 1 or 2 restaurants down there, but
We went, Mark. We went.
well, I'm just throwing it out there.
The devil's den for a cheeseburger.
Yeah. Right. There were a few salty places down there.
Yeah, there were salty places.
But
There was always
anyway.
Constantine's. Constantine's was always a great staple down there.
Right. So, of course, and no dissing the people who worked hard and put their blood, sweat, and tears in making Niantic what it is today, and they came from 25 years ago, 50 years ago. But I'm saying that we learned a lot, and we can learn a lot more. So that we'll plant that seed. We'll have more conversations with you, and as we get closer to May, June, when we're ready to disperse, hopefully we'll have our ducks in order. Okay.
All right, great. Happy to help you in this process. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for the energy you've already put into this, and for all you do on behalf of a grateful town. Thank you.
We enjoy it. Thank you.
No, you too. Thank you both.
All right. Bye-bye.
Next on our agenda is public comment. We will also have public comment on our regular agenda, which will start as soon as I can get through this list. Is there anybody that needs to speak to the Board of Selectmen at this moment about these subjects? Okay, any Selectmen response?
Mark, Michelle Williams has her hand up.
Sorry, just yell out loud, Michelle.
Thank you. Really excited that we have the opportunity to have these conversations, and it was exciting to just listen for the last hour or so to be reminded again how many people are out there thinking about the welfare of our community members and how to make our town better. And I would be remiss if I didn't also say that I would really appreciate if the plan of conservation and development was considered as we make, these decisions about, how to spend this money, because there are so many needs and causes and worthy places to invest these dollars. And I would love to see us make sure that as we do things like refresh the downtown, we're taking into consideration some of the resiliency measures or pollinator pathways or functional artwork in art installations, and really taking a comprehensive approach to making sure that if we improve something, we improve it to the maximum capacity, and also to use this money, as Dan Cunningham mentioned, to possibly get other money too, and look into grants so that this isn't a one and done, spend and it's gone opportunity. So anyway, just wanted to say thank you to everybody who spoke, and thank you for allowing me to comment as well.
Mark, you're muted.
You're muted.
Yeah, I had so many good things to say and I forgot them all. Michelle, I'll reach out to you. I'd like to get together with you. We can't implement everything in your POCD. It's about that tall. But I think you and I should have that conversation, and then we'll try to organize, because there's different groups represented in that POCD. And let's talk about that. It's our intention, the Board of Selectmen, to have each department come represented by a committee member and or the department head. Most departments, I don't think every department needs to be seen. Some are obviously have no need to be part of this, but you bring up an interesting point, and I'd like to have that conversation with you. So I'll reach out. We'll get together maybe early next week.
Great, thanks.
If you would be so kind. Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Did I miss any electronic hands up? I see none. Let's move to any selectmen response, and we can push that off to the next meeting, and we can call for an adjournment.
Kevin, sorry, move to adjourn. Special meeting.
Second.
Motion has been made. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, great.